Okay, so it's been really muggy and really hot here, so my hair is boof, and I'm only wearing one layer, which is really odd for me. Usually I like to layer up, but yeah, this is what happens in Canada when it hits midsummer. It's Devolution Series number 2, Galactic Quarantine from Devin Townsend. So, Heavy Devi is back with another Devolution series. I believe there's a plan to do 4 of these, so we're about halfway there. These are live albums that he has occurred over the years. This one's the most recent one, being from one of his quarantine series that he's done, and he's done like, what, 5, 6 of them? Maybe even more than that, probably. And I find within this whole lockdown COVID world that we're still kind of in, this is a great way for musicians and artists to keep in touch with their fans because they can't really tour anymore. Devin has decided to partner with the record studio and just say, yeah, sure, let them release it, right? And so this is following after the last one, which is the Devolution Series number 1 of the Acoustically Inclined Live at Leeds. And that was a very interesting album in that it was much more of a stripped down. It was literally just him and the guitar. This one is the exact opposite. Even though there's still just 4 individuals helping him out on this one, it's more of his metal stuff. So all of the tracks on here are much more in that metal vein. They're big, they're loud, they're grandiose, and it really showcases the other side of Devin Townsend. If you've already seen this live quarantine concert, you've already kind of witnessed it all, so there's nothing really new on this one. Even when you compare it to a lot of his other live albums, like, at the end of the day, this one's not all that different when you compare it to, say, the Ocean Machine live set that didn't necessarily incorporate all of the Ocean Machine aspects, or even like his Roy Albert Hall with Ziltoid. It's kind of the same kind of vibe that we have on there. Very fun, very lighthearted. There's not as much kind of banter between him and the audience because he can't really see the audience. It's still there from time to time, but it's much more of a just Devin being Devin rather than a feature of the show. Now, one of the things that I do love about this record is the amount of Ziltoid that we have on here. From the original Ziltoid, we have By Your Command and the ever-present Hyperdrive. And I love both of these tracks on here. I love that Hyperdrive, even though Devin tends to do it in a stripped down quality, on here it's much more faithful to the album, like the studio album represented. But we also have the March of the Poozers from Z2, which I particularly love. It's one of my favorite tracks off of the Z2 album. I also like the fact that he wasn't afraid to do some really early stuff. Like the final track is Detox from Strapping Young Lad, I believe it was, as well as a lot of stuff that we had from like Deadhead and Love. And of course you also have like the fan favorites, right? So you have Super Crush, which is one of my favorites, but you also have Kingdom and Aftermath. And so there's a lot of like variety for this. And as I mentioned, it does kind of skew more towards the metal side. So you even have a track from Deconstruction, such as Jugular, which is always nice to have. My favorite track off of this whole thing is probably still the rendition of Spirits Will Collide. I still like the version that we had off of Order of Magnitude Empath Live Volume 1. I like when it's stripped down a little bit more and it's just the women that are singing this. Here, though, it is much like Hyperdrive. It is a little bit more faithful to the studio release, but it's still very impactful. Like Spirits Will Collide is probably one of his most emotional and heartfelt tracks, and it still felt very much so on here. And of course, as I already mentioned, the fan favorite of Kingdom is one of the last tracks on here. So in the end, this is a little bit of a mix grab bag in terms of how I want to rate it. Because on the one hand, it has a lot of Devin Townsend's personality on it. I think it's very great in its presentation. I think if you're a fan of Devin Townsend, you're going to really love this. And I mean, you've probably already heard it because you probably saw it live when he was doing it. On the other hand, I also see that it is a little bit of a blatant cash grab from the record studio. Not necessarily from Devin, because I feel like Devin was just more of a, sure, go for it. I really don't care what you do with my music. I feel like the record company is much more of that, well, we need to finance his projects, so this is the way to do so. So, yeah, I mean, if you're a fan of Devin, this is a great little live album to include in your collection. I know I'll probably eventually get it in physical format, but I think at the end of the day, this is going to be, a download. This is one that I would invest in, especially if you are a fan of Devin. But if you're not, then this isn't necessarily the live album to convert you. Like, it does have a really nice collection of tracks to introduce you to his library, but I do feel like you would probably get a little bit more out of, say, the Retinal Circus or Ocean Machine live at Ancient Roman Theaters. Probably going to be a little bit of a better entry point. But I mean, if you start with this one, you're not going to go wrong either. So that's kind of where I'm at for Devolution Series number 2, Galactic Quarantine. I'm really excited for the other two. I believe their grand total of these Devolution series, I believe there's going to be 4 of them, but I could be wrong in that sense. And I mean, the first 2 are great. I love that it captures both kind of ideologies within Devin. You got the softer, more intimate side, a little bit more on the vulnerable side with it's just him and the guitar. And you have a little bit more of a bigger production on this one. So I'm really excited to see what the other 2 are going to be. So yeah, that's what I've got for Devolution Series number 2, Galactic Quarantine. What did you guys think? Did you love this one? Did you hate this one? Whatever you thought, let me know by commenting down below. And as always, if you like what you see and you want to help support me, consider donating to my Patreon. I've left a link down below for you to check out. $1 a month goes a long way. You get your name at the end of the credits, and you get shoutouts on all my live streams, which I'm trying to do a little bit more of. If you haven't seen it already, the Prog Nerd Neve and I ranked all of Pink Floyd studio albums, which was really, really fun. So trying to do one of those a month, get guests on to kind of chat and have fun, just a nice chill time, and also go through some live album reacts to patrons that have recommended them to me. So that's what I've got. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, you guys are definitely the best. And until next time, notes out.